Hello, my name is Usagi Holmes. はじめまして。My job as a detective is to solve mysteries and reveal the answers for my clients. Today, I'm working on the mystery file of a rather curious case. Dear Detective Usagi, my teacher told me that my Japanese won't be great unless I understand how to use verbs. She also said that there are different groups of verbs and they follow different rules, but I just cannot seem to figure out how I can tell them apart. They all look the same to me. Please help. This is indeed an important case. But before I tell you the secret of identifying the verbs perfectly, I need to clarify some basic things first. I will have my assistant, Kura Watson, to take over from here.
ありがとうございます。Basic fact 1. All Japanese verbs can be categorized into 3 groups. By far, the biggest group is U verbs, also known as Group 1 verb, Regular 1 verb, or 五段動詞 in Japanese. The second biggest group isるverbs, also known as Group 2 verb, Regular 2 verb, or 一段動詞 in Japanese. And finally, this tiny group is irregular verbs, also known as 不規則動詞. Luckily for us, there are only 2 irregular verbs in Japanese: する to do and 来る to come. Basic fact 2. Politeness level determines the speech. If you're speaking Japanese in the polite level, you will use the mas form. Mas, masen, mashita, masendeshita. If you're speaking Japanese in the casual level, you will use the plain form. Dictionary form? ない、た、なかった. For the purpose of this video, we'll focus on the most basic form of the verb, which is the dictionary form, because it's the easiest to identify. Do you remember what those verb groups were? That's right. They are irregular verbs, do verbs, and u verbs. Now let's take a closer look at each group.
The only 2 irregular verbs in Japanese are to do, する, and to come, 来る. These irregular verbs don't follow any rules, so you simply need to memorize what they sound like. Even though just 2 verbs sound like not much, they can combine with other words to create many more action words. する is particularly versatile. When you attach する after many action nouns, they instantly turn into a verb. For example, 結婚 means marriage. When you add する to that, it becomes 結婚する to marry. So convenient. You can find many other する verbs like this. In a similar fashion, 来る can also have some variations. 持ってくる means to bring something, and 連れてくる means to bring someone. Now let's look at do verbs. This is a wonderfully easy and simple group with very clear patterns. Do verbs are called this way because they end with ru. It's simple as that. All do verbs end with either eru or iru sound in the last 2 characters. Eru ending 食べる、寝る、忘れる。iru ending 見る、浴びる、起きる。Lastly, let's talk about u verbs, which is the biggest group. Many u verbs are extremely easy to spot. First, any verbs that don't have ru at the end, like 書く、話す、読む, are automatically u verbs. Next, let's look at verbs that do end with ru. Out of the 5 vowels that exist in Japanese, a, I, u, e, o. Eru and iru endings are do verbs, so the remaining aru, uru, and oru are always u verbs. No exception. Now let's play a quick game. Can you spot all the u verbs on screen? Fantastic! This isn't too bad at all, is it? Just one thing though, there are some tricky verbs that you have to watch out for. Even though all verbs are eru or iru ending, not all eru and iru endings are verbs. Some are actually verb. But don't worry. Luckily for us, there aren't that many of these exceptions. So just try to memorize them and remember that they are verbs. Confusing verbs that end with eru or iru. Eru ending verb. kaeru, 喋る, 減る. iru ending verb. 知る, 入る, 走る. Let's have a quick recap. Irregular verbs are する and 来る. Do verbs are える ending and いる ending verbs. U verbs are all non-do ending verbs, ある, うる or おる ending verbs, and a few exceptions. Are you ready to take on a challenge? Try to identify all the verbs on screen before the time runs out. Here we go! If you couldn't finish in time, there's no need to panic. Here's the secret guide to identify verbs in the most efficient way. Just follow this order. First, する and 来る are irregular verbs. Second, non-do ending verbs are u verbs. Third, ある, うる and おる endings are u verbs. Fourth, える and いる endings are do verbs. Last, are there any exceptions? They would be u verbs. Now let's try again, this time with the secret guide. Now, are you ready for the ultimate challenge?
How did you do on the challenge? Identifying verb groups is one of the most important skills in Japanese. So please give yourself lots of practice so that you can do this quickly and correctly each time. I promise it will be super handy with any verb expressions.
I hope you found this helpful. If there's any mystery you'd like me to investigate, just send me a message.